Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own custom playing cards with MakePlayingCards.com. The reason I'm going with MakePlayingCards.com is because they have this premium card stock, not a sponsor. In my lifetime I've seen a lot of really low quality playing cards and that's just not what I'm going for. I want something that feels more like, standard bicycle playing cards, something you find in a casino. And from the reviews I've seen, Make Playing Cards has a lot more options for that. So first you want to go to MakePlayingCards.com and you can click sign in. You can create your own account or sign in with Google, either one. So I'm signed in and now you'll see on their website they have a lot of options. I'm going to click here for the custom playing cards. So I'm going to click start design. So it's totally possible that these options will change based on when you're watching this video. I'm going to go with the custom back standard NPC playing cards. I think this is what most people want, where you're going to get their standard ace 2 3 4 5, all that stuff, the regular playing cards, but you design the back. But if you want to put your face on the front of the playing cards instead of the king or whatever, you could always do these custom game cards and customize every card. Also note that it says poker size here. That's like the standard size of bicycle playing cards that you'd normally see. So if that's the size you want, make sure that's the size you pick. Now, before you add your own custom design, you have a bunch more options. So by default, they have the NPC standard card face. If you open this up, you can sort of compare what they look like. Personally, I prefer the look of the common cards to the NPC cards. That's no offense to the NPC designers, but that's just my preference. Totally up to you to choose though. Now for cardstock, even more options. I'm going with the S33 Superior Smooth, but later in the unboxing portion of this video, I'm going to show what all the cardstocks look and feel like, so you can make a decision yourself for which one you think you would prefer. Go to this timestamp if you want to see that. A lot more options for print type. I'm just going to go full color print. For the finish, I'm also going to compare that later at the timestamp I showed, but I went with this beta playing card finish. I don't need any booklets. You can click see details to see more, but I'm just going to keep that at none. And for packaging, I'm just going to stick with the default shrink wrapped. They have plenty of options, but all of these are going to be more expensive than shrink wrap. As you're choosing everything, make sure you're taking a look at the prices. I do think to a certain extent you kind of get what you pay for. If you want something really high quality, it is going to be more expensive. Custom playing cards aren't super cheap. And keep in mind there will also be shipping costs, so just, it sort of adds up a little bit. Anyway, once you're satisfied with all this, click start your design. Now you have more options. You can do the same image for the whole deck. You can do the same image for each suit. I'm doing the same image for the whole deck. Keep in mind this is just for the back, so if you have different images on the back of different cards and you're playing cards, people could tell what cards you have by the back, so maybe not too smart. From here, you're going to want to upload the highest quality image you have. They can accept up to 32 megabytes, and ideally you want 300 dots per inch if you have control over that in Photoshop or whatever you're using. So I'm going to click upload images, and then on your computer, the file explorer or whatever will pop up and you can upload an image. Once you have it there, you can drag it over to the card. I'm using my playing cards as business cards, hence the QR code and the image of me and all that stuff. If you just have a photo you want to add and it's not the exact dimensions of the playing card, you can also click edit here to click and drag it around and make sure you get the crop right exactly how you want it. Make sure you keep all the detailed stuff within the red dotted lines. I'm happy with how mine is, so I'm going to go to the next step. From here you can add text. I don't really need to add text to this, but you can click add text, apply, and now you can see we have some test text here. Made it kind of big. Click and drag it around wherever you want. I don't actually want this, so I'm going to get rid of it, but you can change the font, the color, the size, all that stuff. With that, I'm happy with my design, so I'm going to go to the next step. And now you get this really nice page where you get to see what all the cards will look like. So you can scroll through. If there's anything you hate, you can go back and change it. You can also click any one of them to open it bigger and look at it a little more up close. Then there's a checkbox to confirm that you have the rights to use all these pictures, and you can click add to cart. If you scroll down, you can also add some of their default boxes here. They have like a basic window box for 40 cents each. But anyway, once that's done, you can go to checkout, pay with your credit card, and then you're good to go. In my case, shipping to Virginia for one deck of cards and a box was $8.99. That was the cheapest and slowest shipping they offer. Admittedly, not great, but what can you do? If you really want the high quality playing cards, it seems like this is the best place to do it. And the other thing is, as you get more decks, the shipping per deck will be lower, so maybe you want to get like 5 decks or 6 decks or something and lower the price per deck a little bit. Anyway, that's how you actually make the cards. Let's fast forward to when they come in the mail, and I'll do a quick unboxing and review. So I placed the order on December 10th. It's December 24th and it's here, so it took about 2 weeks with the cheapest shipping option. So these are the test cards that I ordered. They sell this for less than $1, and basically it lets you try all the card stocks. So we'll test this out after looking at the actual deck. And here we go. So I ordered it shrink wrapped, but I also ordered a box to come with it. So it looks like they just put it in the box. The box feels pretty nice. Actually pretty solid cardboard here. I kind of thought it would just be like a really flimsy like paper box, but this is pretty good quality. Like it actually looks a little glossy. It feels good, feels smooth, pretty nice. And okay, they did shrink wrap the cards too. Ooh, there we go. That looks pretty nice. Here we go. Here are all the cards. Right off the bat, they feel pretty good, pretty smooth. Looks standard, as expected. The back, pretty cool too. So I'm noticing they are a little bit slidey, a little slippery, falling out of my hands a little bit. This is sort of what they sound like. I'll do a little shuffle. Okay, so they are kind of hard, I guess. Like they have a lot of weight to them. They definitely feel like a pretty good pack of cards. It is really smooth and slidey, feels almost plasticky. Let's compare it to a deck of bicycle cards. Honestly, the bicycle card box feels worse than the MPC box. Okay, the real key difference is just how the faces themselves feel and the backs. The backs on bicycle cards definitely feel papery, and you know, they have a good weight to them, but they just feel like paper, like cardstock. Whereas these do feel much more plasticky, the MPC cards. You can kind of tell they shine in the light more, which honestly isn't my preference. I do really prefer the feel of bicycle cards. And you can see if you look closely how there's sort of like that grid on the bicycle cards. A little hard to explain, but just the way the paper is made, it's sort of like there are lines on it. You don't really get those lines at all on the MPC cards. It's just totally smooth top to bottom, which I will say has a very high quality feel to it, but it doesn't exactly feel like standard playing cards, if that makes sense. Shuffling bicycle cards. Yeah, I mean, it has even a slightly different sound. Maybe not, maybe I'm making it up. Yeah, these are just a little more slippery in the hands, just very smooth. Let me just compare the bicycle playing cards, like spreading them out like this, to the MPC cards. Yeah, definitely like a smoother spread on these because of that smooth texture. As far as the print quality goes, I mean, this is like the exact image I uploaded. I will say it came out a little darker than I expected. My face in particular has pretty low contrast, so it's kind of hard to see like the expression on my face. So if I can give a recommendation to anybody using this service, it might be good to increase the brightness a little bit on your picture or the contrast just to make sure it prints well. As far as like a deck of cards that sort of matches the bicycle playing card quality, we might want to go with a different cardstock. So let's open this up and see what the cardstocks are like. Okay, so these are all the card types. And before I go down the list one by one, I wanted to show them all here so you can sort of see the difference in color. I'm a little surprised to see that some of them definitely have much brighter whites and just more contrast in general. Even like comparing these two, the white is much brighter on this one than on this one. But anyway, I'm gonna break these down into 3 groups. This is gonna be like the smooth, glossy group. This is going to be the more liney, like bicycle card texture group. And this is just the others that don't really fit into a group. So let's start with the top row. So the cards are going to get progressively thicker as we go along. These are the thinnest, the S27 promotional cardstock. These are very smooth. All the ones in this row are going to be pretty smooth. Bending them, it keeps the bend a little bit. In general, this feels pretty good, but also pretty light. So this is going to be sort of a cheaper feeling option. Next, we have these 3, which are all S30s. This has the MPC finish, this has the beta finish, and this has the gloss finish. So right off the bat, this one does feel significantly thicker than the S27. And honestly, I noticed very little difference between the beta finish and the MPC finish. Like really, I can't tell at all what the difference is between these two. They seem to claim that the beta finish is more high quality. Maybe it has a different sort of texture. A little hard to tell. If I pick up more cards, I'm not going to splurge for beta. I feel like it really doesn't add anything. And the gloss finish here definitely feels glossier. It's less slippery. This kind of feels like what it feels like if you're rubbing like glass. You know, like it's smooth, but your hand doesn't slip on it. There's a little bit of friction. Whereas like on the beta, it just like, you know, it's very easy to just slide around. Same with the MPC finish. This one just has more friction to it. You can see it sort of shining in the light here. I personally also don't feel the need for the gloss finish, but if that's your style, it's an option. Now let's move on to the S33 and A35. So the S33 is what I ended up purchasing. I'm not gonna lie, sort of doing this with the S30 versus the S33. The S33 actually feels like it has a little more give, like it kind of bends a little more. It's a totally different sound. It will keep the crease in it if you do a little bending. It does feel a little heavier than the S30. And then finally, the A35 is a much heavier card. It'll keep the crease too when you bend it a little bit. These definitely feel a little extra heavy, a little extra premium, and they still have that shinier texture as opposed to like the texture you see on bicycle cards. So if you're gonna go with one of these, I would say don't do the beta finish, don't do the gloss finish. The S30 is pretty solid. I would avoid the S27, it does feel much cheaper. S33 is okay, A35 is extra premium, extra thick. So I would stick with probably one of these three, and honestly, probably one of these two. This one, maybe if you're going for something a little bit thinner, and this one if you want something a little heavier. Moving on to the next row, and spoiler alert, these are actually my favorite cards. So the key difference between these and the cards we've looked at is that they do have that texture that bicycle cards are known for. You can see they have the lines on them that you would expect to see on most casino cards, that sort of grid texture on the back. And it's the same thing on the front. Compare that to the bicycle cards and you can see it's very similar. So for my personal preference, if I get more decks in the future, I'm definitely gonna go with one of these textures because it just feels more like those casino style cards. But let's go through all 5 of these and do a quick comparison. So this is the M28 standard linen. It does have that bicycle card feel to it. The bicycle card has a little more texture to it, honestly. Like this one still does feel pretty smooth, but it feels much less smooth than the other ones we were looking at before. Has some reasonable weight to it, you know, nothing too heavy, but you know, it doesn't feel super cheap. And let's compare that to this M29. The texture on the M29 is actually much more noticeable. Like I can feel these cards. I can feel like that it's raised in some parts a little bit. If I had to order them in amount of texture, I would say that M28 has the least texture, and then bicycle cards, and then this M29. Like you can really feel the M29. And you can see that when you look at it too. It's really got those lines on it, on the front and back. It feels a little bit heavier, a little bit more high quality than the M28. Feels like it would bend a little less easily. Yeah, you know, it'll still keep the crease, but it doesn't feel very cheap. Moving on to the M30. This one feels like it bounces back a little more after doing this. Texture-wise, this feels pretty smooth, nothing really like the M29, but it does still have the lines on it, of course, all these do. Pretty solid cards. Moving on to the M31, and these are my favorites. I would say that these are probably the closest you're gonna get to bicycle cards, so no surprise they call them casino quality. You know, it's got the lines on it, makes it really feel like those casino cards. It's got a good amount of weight to it. You know, it can take some bending, but that's fine, you could always bend it back. And you can definitely feel the texture. Comparing to a bicycle card, the bicycle card feels a little bit smoother than the M31, but I would say the M31 is a little smoother than the M29, so I think it's a good balance, and I think if you really want that like bicycle quality, this is probably the closest you're gonna get. Finally, M32. Feels a little heavier than the M31, also very smooth compared to the M31 and the M29. Feels similar to the M30. Good weight to it. Honestly, not keeping the crease too much when I bend it. A little bit. Pretty solid quality cards. So of these, I would probably recommend the M31s. I would say the M28s aren't really my style, and the other ones are okay too. Finally, let's compare the ones that fall into the other category. So this is the E27 Eco Herbage one. So you can see the earth in this one. I guess this one is more eco-friendly, which is really cool that they're, you know, doing that. But admittedly, it seems like eco-friendly cards just aren't quite up to snuff with the other cards yet, which does make me sad to say, but you know, if you really do want to be environmentally friendly, I feel like these cards are still probably better than a lot of cards that I've seen in my day. Like, they're relatively high quality. The print comes out good, the texture's not bad, but it does just feel like a little flimsier. Feels like you could really bend it. Finally, these are 100% plastic, and you can tell they jiggle. They sound like plastic, they feel like plastic. And the reason I've been doing the bend tests is because these don't bend. These bounce back. They're very smooth texture-wise. They're just bouncy, they're jiggly. If I get more, I'll definitely get the casino ones, and I'll probably do a slightly brighter or higher contrast picture on them. But yeah, a fully custom set of business cards that are also playing cards for under 30 bucks isn't that bad. So all in all, pretty happy with this purchase. Anyway, I've talked significantly more about playing cards than I ever thought I would. So that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.